And here, we're talking about compressible waves storing inertia is the only definition we had for mass in physics. And here's the self-re-entry path in the tornado. Here's the homework assignment. The homework assignment is you are a shaman in training in a Mayan village in South America, and there's a tornado approaching the town. And you have been given the assignment. Please go out and meet the tornado and steer it around the town, or we're all dead. Thank you very much. So you're a little nervous. Oh, your knees are shaking. And you step out from the town to meet the tornado because this is your assignment. You're the shaman this is your job. You know, like the milkman has a job. Your job is steering tornadoes. So you look in your little manual under Shamanism 101 for Mayans, and there's instructions for steering tornadoes in there. It's true, actually. I learned this in a school in Atlanta, in Huntsville, Alabama. And sure enough, when you look in there, it says, in order to steer a tornado, what you do is you eat the hoocha of the approaching tornado. Hoocha. If you ask a shaman what it is to eat the hoocha, he says it means you consume the anger of the tornado as it approaches. What that is you're there and you begin to feel for the tornado better than it feels for itself by feeling its pain. And that's called eating the anger. And the physics of that is called embedding. And we can model it in mathematics, and it's called the golden mean ratio. So a clairvoyant would see bioplasmic streamers going from your belly, the shaman, into the tornado. And electrically what you're doing is you're embedding yourself in the tornado electrically. And so you have become electrically, by creating recursive turning inside out-ness, called consciousness. You embed yourself in the tornado electrically, and so then you have become the center of gravity of the tornado, and that's measurable. The psychology of that situation, which psychologically is described as compassion, is that the tornado falls in love with you, the shaman, and begins following you around like a pet puppy dog, right? Because you only fall in love with pure intention, and when you do, you give away your center of gravity. Yes? Because you want your center of gravity to be as central as possible. And so that mathematics of embedding is the physics of how a short wave gets on a longer wave. You're the short wave, and the galaxy's the longer wave. So in effect, since string theory and wormhole theory proves that physics is nothing else but wormholes, the skill to steer tornadoes is the only skill required to bend matter. Do you see? So here's how it works. This is from the movie Twister. Step 1, stalk the tornado. Now here's where we're going to use Martin's little gizmo here. We were going to stalk the little tornado in here. So you got to visualize the props here. We didn't get it all together. Oh well. But so step 1, you stalk the tornado. Step 2, in the movie Twister, you back a truck up to the tornado and you let the wireless telemetry balls be sucked in. Step 3, the computer models the angle of trajectory of the telemetry balls sucked into the tornado. Step 4. I hope there's a step 4. This could, oh yes, here's step 4 is make a picture of the angle which allows a tornado to become self-feeding. It's a slip knot. It's called a tourbillon, a scroll work made of light. And that arc angle of that, it's called an element of spin or an element of Phi's ray, a flame letter. Okay? So that angle of that spin path there becomes the map for something called the Anu, which was the original subatomic particle, which in Moni Sadhu the Tarot is called a tourbillon, a scroll work made of light. And what is that? Does that look familiar? That's called the Anu. That is the shape clairvoyants see in the subatomic particle hydrogen, later justified in current physics in psi perception of quarks by Phillips. It's also the shape of the heart of the sun. It's also the shape of the human heart. 5 spins inside, 7 spins outside. So that is a slip knot. Slip knot, cosmic donut maker. A slip knot to enable the possibility of compression. And that slip knot is called the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Ring is the one who knows the angles at which you tie those slip knots. So just to play that little animation and get a little sense of that, that's called the alphabet of symmetry, and it's called the alphabet of the heart. Yeah? And that ability to make that little nest engender that little compression angle is related to what the ring lord dreamed. Yeah? So here's the ring lord. The ring lord says, I would like to identify these gold spirals on the side of this ring donut. Okay? So I'm identifying. Now this was derived, the Elven, from the Finnish, and the Finnish was derived from the Sumerian Anunnaki, which was the language of the Anu, the Draco, that arrived aboard Nibiru, which then became Hebrew. Okay? So we have a clue to the origin of these tilt angles. And these tilt angles were the angles required to look at the spin on the surface of a donut. This was sometimes called Adam's apple, or the fig leaf on Adam's apple. And you take a bite out of that apple, and you're able to segregate inertia, which is called evil, which simply means failure to embed. Anyway, if you're able to do that, what you do is you're able to compress the spin pass down into the DNA. Here's a picture in biophysics of DNA that under the condition of compression, it's called a toroidal DNA condensate. Condensate, condenser, to compress. When you compress DNA, it forms a ring lord, right? And when you do that, you get the possibility of implosion at the center, which turns DNA into a gravity-making device for creating implosion. So if I knew the tilt angles to compress DNA into the right map, I could take that slip knot right there, based on the sadhu, the Anu, and I would use that as a template for steering the angle as the codon goes down into the DNA helix to make that compression wave. And this is how it would look. So I'm compressing the angle at which the helix is fabricated in order to get this deca-delta phenomena, which is the 5-7. So now I'm going to look at those tilt angles that I would use to make this compression. Here's the compression wave again. Same compression wave. And I want to make that compression wave. So now here's the mathematics I did. I took that compression wave and I topologically mapped on that compression wave this golden spiral. And then I used that donut in a donut from the compression wave. And if you compress charge at the synapse, then your wishes become objects. So if you were able to think in the language of light, you would be the ring lord. So here now you just need to be able to recognize the tilt angle, A, B. Here's that golden spiral on the donut. It's as simple as ABC. I haven't changed or bent that piece of wire. I've only changed your point of view. Okay? That's called consumed perspective, or e pluribus unum. It's the spin path to compression that would enable you to recognize the tilt angle at which a tornado was coming at you so that you could quickly grab it by its throat, thus allowing you to throw your weight around. Get it? So the ability to grab donuts quickly by their throat depended upon the recognition algorithm for the tilt angle of a magnetic donut called the origin of the alphabet. Do you see? So this is called the alphabet of symmetry. It's actually the alphabet of the heart. And if I were to then index that tilt angle of that donut with respect to the symmetry of the tetrahedron, I would have the Hebrew alphabet. There's pi, squares the circle, okay? So again, this ability to catch the vortex donuts, if I only nested the vortex donut field effects in DNA by the symmetry of the tetrahedron, I would have a golem. There's the 7 spins on the surface of a donut. Here's Aleph, Beit, container B, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, pi, squares the circle 5, etc.